Truth Unveiled here, and today I'm keeping you updated with the world around you. We're going to be talking about what happened recently in India with the unveiling of the world's biggest statue. Now, there is something very spiritual that's going on with this, and I think a lot of people have missed it, and so now we're going to talk about it together. But we're here at The Guardian that says, India prompts protests with unveiling of world's biggest statue. Now pay careful attention to the timing of this, how all of this occurred around the Halloween season, which we're going to talk about later on in the video. And then we're going to also talk about some other things and why this is very interesting and suspicious indeed. But the actual report says India has unveiled the world's tallest statue depicting one of the country's independence leaders in a lavish ceremony featuring fireworks, fighter jets, and rose petals showered by helicopters, and this was as of yesterday. It's 182 meters, or about 597 feet, which is close to 600 feet, and it's a sculpture of Sardar, or Chief Patel, known as the Statue of Unity. And that's so important to keep in mind, is that this statue is known as the Statue of Unity, to commemorate the efforts to coral hundreds of princely states into the Indian Union after independence, which was revealed by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on this, but a little bit more background about this statue. Here you can actually see it right here, where it says that it has the world's record currently for the world's tallest statue, and you can see that it's named after Patel right here, who was one of the most prominent leaders of the Indian independence movement and the first deputy prime minister of India, and it's located around the Narmada Dam, which is located northeast of Mumbai. Now, this was how the statue looked as of a week ago, and as you can see right here, it was dedicated as of yesterday. Now, again, they claimed that yesterday was the 143rd anniversary of the born day of Patel. But again, pay careful attention to the timing, and not only that, what all of this is about. Now again, we're not going to go over this too much, but we'll talk about Patel, who was the Indian politician, or as we like to say on this network, politrician, because they all are in on the scheme and they all work for the New World Order. But Patel was said to be the first Prime Minister of India, along with the senior leader of the Indian National Congress and one of the founding members of the Republic of India, who played a key leading role in the country's struggle for independence and was guided as its integration into a united, independent nation, declaring independence away from Great Britain. Now, Patel is also known for the Quit India movement and is also known as the unifier of India, according to Only Kashmir. But are you starting to see some eerie things about this, especially when it comes to what? The Statue of Unity, unifying India into one country, unification, the merging and the unification. What is this symbolizing? The symbol of what? Their new world order, unifying the world as one. That is what this is representing. And when I also tell you about how all of this occurred on Halloween and what happened last year's Halloween or Halloween with Wendy Williams in the fall of Babylon, then it will all make sense. Also, pay careful attention even to the name, how you have ALLAH within the name right here. I'm telling you folks, there is something bigger that is going on, a more sinister agenda and purpose behind this. Not only that, but they also claim that the statue is twice the size of the Statue of Liberty, and we'll also be talking about that when we talk about Wendy Williams too. Now, another thing I found very interesting and suspicious indeed about all of this, noting the timing, was this right here, which is this, the Karnataka State Festival that occurs in India, which is also known as what? The Karnataka Formation Day, which is celebrated every November 1st of every year, which was the day in 1956, so 62 years ago, when all the Kannada language-speaking regions of South India were merged to form one state, or the state of Karnataka. Now, in India specifically, this date holds a ton of celebrations and a ton of things that go on in these regions when it comes to the Kannada specifically. There are also dances and rituals that take place on this day when it comes to this. However, what we need to pay attention to about this is what? Formation. The word formation, because again, what is the New World Order? What are they doing? They're forming their New World Order. What does this remind you of? Formation Day, the Statue of Unity, unifying into a new world order. Formation, forming the new world order. Just as we've talked about with Beyonce, formation. And we've also gone over that video before where we talked about what are they really forming? In the music video itself, Beyonce is seen on top of a police car when it comes to the New Orleans police, and what half of the city is underwater, reminding us of what, of course, when it comes to Hurricane Katrina, and also all of the flooding that takes place too. And then of course water, when it comes to the New World Order, that symbolizes what? The rebirthing of things, formation, the rebirthing of their New World Order, order out of chaos, phoenix rising out of the ashes. Again, this is another subliminal message that the Illuminati elite are using in order to let you all know that what? Their New World Order is soon forming and is in formation. And then we also talked about the Grammys from 2017, how they show what? A pregnant Beyonce right here, and how they show Beyonce on a chair. And we've also talked about some symbolism behind that with the flowers all around representing fertility, and the chair Illuminati symbolism that gives worship to pagan African deities right here in the chair right there, which is Oshun. And by the way, if you really think that Beyonce is actually pregnant and is actually a woman, it's time to think again. Because is this really a pregnant woman's belly, or is this actually a moon bump that is secretly used in order to what? Deceive the masses. And then there was this too, Beyonce's picture right here of the flowers all around. You can see the veil over the head, which represents what? The uncovering. That is what this is time for. That's what it represents. Again, so-called pregnant with twins, even though we know the actual truth about that. And if you have not researched and looked into moon bumps, now is the time to do so, because I'm telling you, everything you think is the truth really is not. What you think your eyes are seeing, you're actually seeing something totally different. But the narrative that they like to give us is that, oh, Beyonce had twins. Well, what do you think that represents? The twins, the good and the evil, the duality. Just like we talked about that when it came to the Super Bowl with the twins, the binary and the New World Order, good and evil, Freemasonry, the white and the black checkerboard that they always like to use. And it's no coincidence how all of this is occurring right now, especially when it comes to who? The United Nations, the Statue of Unity. Again, their New World Order, merging and bringing everything together as one, as we've talked about before, and we'll also briefly go over again when it comes to the UN, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And about it, it says right here, the Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. Of course, this is what the United Nations is going to tell you, but what they'll never tell you in between the lines is what? Their depopulation agenda, depopulating the plane to 500 million, but it says they address the worldwide plane challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate, environmental degradation, even though they're the cause of all this, prosperity, peace, and justice. And when they say peace and safety, well, we already know what they're talking about. The goals interconnect, and in order to leave no one behind, it is important that we achieve each goal and target by 2030. And then you can click on any goals. Again, they're listed right here. And if you take a look at them, there are 17 goals. We're not going to go over all of them specifically, but the one that we will take a look at is this one, 16.9. Now, goal 16 says, according to them, promote just, peaceful, and inclusive societies, because that's what they want us to believe. And then if you actually take a look at their facts and their figures, links, and then their actual targets, well, 16.9 says what? By 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. That's exactly what they're doing. They need the one world currency, the one world religion, the one world government, and that includes a one world unification birth registration ID. But are they already doing that? Because here they have the ID 2020. So they're already looking to get this stuff ready by 2020, folks, not even 2030, according to them. But it says the ID 2020 Alliance is a plain partnership committed to improving lives through digital identity, because that's what they want us to believe, aka more spying, more depopulation tactics, more mind control techniques that they always use, courtesy your cell phones and courtesy cell phone towers, and the merging of governments, local and state governments, along with national governments and international ones. It's all an alliance and a partnership getting ready for their new world order, their beast system. Then it goes on to say, this alliance of governments, NGOs, and the private sector will work to ensure that the technology development is informed by the needs of countries and individuals, and that policies and standards reflect the latest technological innovations. By coordinating funding for identity and channeling those funds toward high impact projects, this alliance model enables diverse stakeholders, UN agencies, the United Nations, the Statue of Unity, NGOs, governments, and enterprises to pursue a coordinated approach, and creates a pathway for efficient implementation at scale. But then it goes on to say right here, to meet the criteria of this, what they're trying to do with the ID 2020, to have these IDs by 2020. So when it comes to ID 2020, what they're basically trying to do is they're trying to merge all of these different governments, international organizations, businesses, and individuals also to get involved when it comes to creating this ID for everyone worldwide. And they claim that it has to be personal, unique to you and only you, persistent, portable, and private. Of course, that's what they're telling us. And then they claim no government, country, or organization can solve this challenge alone. And that's what they always love to do, just like with their lies and hoaxes about climate change. How they try to claim that, oh, this is a worldwide problem, and oh, this is everybody's problem, this is your problem, this is my problem, even though the elite at the top are causing the problems. But oh, this is all our problems, and oh, we all have to merge together to try to solve this problem and to fight off this threat, because it's the same darn agenda over and over and over and over again. But now that we've gone over some of the political aspects, now we're going to be talking about the spiritual side of this statue and why it's so important and why this is a warning indeed. And the first thing to note about this is how it represents the statue of this Prime Minister here, Patel, as we've talked about, who's known as a Sardar, which is actually a title. Now, when you actually take a look at this title, it's a title of nobility that was originally used to denote princes, noblemen, and other aristocrats. You can see that right here. It is used as a Persian synonym of the Arabic title Amir. Now, what's interesting is what? It can also mean prince. Well, according to Yahukanan, John 14:30, who is the prince of this world? And of course, it's no surprise or coincidence either how the Statue of Unity went up at the exact precise same time as what? Halloween and Samhain. Now, a couple of years ago, we covered the history of Halloween, and we've talked about it extensively in its origins, which we'll link in the description box. But we've also talked about how it's known as the Witches' New Year, and then Samhain specifically, how the Druids also taught that on the 31st of October, on the eve of the feast, Samhain assembled the spirits of all who had died during the previous year to return to their former home to visit the living. So we know that it gives what? Attributions to the dead. It's also known as the Witches' New Year and known as Samhain in the northern hemisphere and Beltane in the southern hemisphere. And what goes on during this time is what? A bunch of child offering, child sacrifices. So if you see a ton of missing children in this season, well, we know exactly what they're being offered for. It's also celebrated by Wiccans and Druids also, and according to Satanists themselves, this is one of the biggest satanic holidays outside of birthdays. Now, as you can see right here, as October turns to November, thousands of witches, Wiccans, Druids, and other pagans across America, Canada, Europe, and elsewhere observe this time, which they say is a festival of the dead. And this is not the only time and festival that we see being attributed to the dead. Because there's also the Hispanic Day of the Dead, which is a Mexican holiday celebrated all throughout Mexico, in particular the central and the southern regions, and by people of Mexican heritage elsewhere. And it's typically associated with when? October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd to coincide with what? All Hallowtide or All Saints Eve, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. So once again, deep traditions in what? Giving homage to the dead, just like that Statue of Unity paying homage to the dead. Who is that giving homage to? Because according to the word itself, our creator is the all of the living and not the dead. So who are you giving homage to if you're giving homage to the dead? Are you giving it to the prince of this world? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And then not only that, but the New York Times, according to them, India unveils Statue of Unity, world's tallest statue, and according to them, twice the size of the Statue of Liberty that's in New York. Now, I find it very interesting how they would mention the Statue of Liberty around this time, how this statue was erected on Halloween, also known as Halloween in this season. Because do you remember what happened a year ago last Halloween? That's right, Wendy Williams, who dressed up as the Statue of Liberty, passed out, and this was as of when? Last Halloween of 2017. And it says talk show host Wendy Williams fainted during a live broadcast of what? Their Halloween edition, dressed as the Statue of Liberty. And I've done a video covering that extensively. How this spiritually represents what? The fall of Babylon. Time's up. According to what? According to the Golden Globes that we've talked about, and even Time magazine even letting you know the exact same thing, that the end is near. Babylon is about to fall. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because as you see, the symbolism is right in front of you. The world elite have already made their declaration of who they serve and the prince of whom they serve. But the question is, who will you serve and who do you serve? As for me and my house, we will serve Yahuwah. Another thing that we mentioned in the Wendy Williams video is this card right here in the Illuminati card game series, which shows what? Global warming, as they want us to believe it. And they happen to depict and show what? The Statue of Liberty underwater, just like we've talked about with Beyonce Formation, with New Orleans underwater, New Orleans, New World Order. Do you see what time it is? Do you see what they're trying to depict and show you here? We've also talked about that with the movie The Day After Tomorrow that shows the same thing, underwater, under ice. And they're going to blame it on global warming and old climate chaos, even though we know the real truth about that, because the truth is what makes us free. But this is Truth Unveiled here, keeping you updated and saying as always, Shalom.